Hello, everybody, and welcome to the GenAI for DevOps Bootcamp, co-hosted by my friend George Fahmy with StackPack. So we're going to dive a little bit into what this bootcamp is going to entail and kind of help you get kicked off. We don't want to take too much of your time in this bootcamp. We've kind of decided that we're not going to spend so much time running back and forth, doing random troubleshooting and things. We're going to try to get right to the point and help you implement generative AI into your DevOps workloads to help you securely and reliably improve your velocity, your security, and really just get those tickets off of Jira as fast as possible. So, all that being said, let's take a look here. I want to introduce, first of all, George right here. George has built and maintains stackpack.dev. This is a DevOps agent in your terminal. It uses several cutting-edge Gen AI features to help you solve your DevOps problems as easily as possible. But of course, it has several guardrails and things like that built in to ensure that you are getting an accurate deployment. And he has agreed to help with this bootcamp. So no matter what tool you use, he has also agreed not to pressure anybody into using StackPack. He, of course, is going to highlight its benefits, which there are many. But honestly, if you want to use Claude Code, if you use Windsurf, or if you use multiple, go right ahead. He is going to help you decide the best tool to use. So welcome, George, to the bootcamp. If you could give your side of the story a little bit.
So hey, thanks for having me, Derek. So I myself use a lot of AI tools in my DevOps and development workflow, at least 5 of them. So yeah, whether you use StackPack or not, I've been obsessed with this for the past 2 years. What kind of tasks you can do in infrastructure, on operations that LLMs are good at and what they suck at. And we've been building over the past 1.5 years evaluations for different things, for different models or different tools. Yeah, so I've been digging really deep into this. So I'm really happy to do that because I think LLMs can be really helpful in operations if used right. And it's still an area that's very underexplored and needs a lot of practitioners to start picking this up and learning how they can use this in their day-to-day work. Yeah, so I'm very happy to be here. Thanks.
All right, awesome. Yeah, I mean, this type of experience is really great for this boot camp. Now, I'm here. I've got some experience. I've been running and teaching and practicing DevOps for, we'll just say, many years. I can't really count them. If you really want to get down to it, if you want to get down to the actual definition of DevOps, it's probably close to a decade at this point with just AWS, Puppet, Chef, Terraform, all of these. So I've seen kind of the trajectory of all of this, and a lot of you might notice I've never done a boot camp on crypto. There's a reason. I have done a boot camp now on GenAI, though. I do believe that it is incredibly important and transformative this time around. So yeah, I've been building my real GenAI experience other than using it for myself just to build all sorts of projects. And I use it, generate Terraform snippets, things like that whenever I need them. I also have been building a grading system. So this grading system is one you're going to be using within the boot camp to check your work. And the whole thing is based on GenAI. There's a lot of features on the back end I use to try to make sure it's as accurate as possible. Of course, like all GenAI, it may not be perfect. Feel free to reach out if you do have any issues. So anyway, let's talk a little bit about this DevOps bootcamp. First of all, it's a project. While it might feel like a course at times, there are going to be certain tasks that we dive deeper into because we feel like they are more important for you to really, really grasp. However, there are going to be other topics that we're not going to dive into. For instance, we might teach you how to do a simple task using a Gen AI IDE like Windsurf, Cursor, StackPack, or whichever ones you want, Amazon's new Kiro even. And a lot of that, is to show you the different ways that you might deploy something, but we're not going to show you exactly how to deploy it in all cases. So it's up to you to make some of the right decisions. So if you're deploying an EKS cluster, for instance, you will need to know the right questions to ask to ensure that EKS cluster is secure. We're not going to dive into every little piece of it. Again, this is not a walkthrough. This is a boot camp. You should be using your brain here. So again, not just a course. Let me just slide through. I'm terrible at these slides, I'll be honest. So you should be challenged in this. That's one thing I do want to stress. If you're expecting to just come in, walk through this thing, and walk away with a badge, you're in the wrong place. However, if you want to actually build something you're proud of and modify it for your own usage and be able to use it in the real world, you're in the right place. Your head's in the right place. That being said, there is no right answer necessarily. There is a right outcome in a way. We expect certain things to happen. But if you want to do it a completely different way than we did it, if you want to use Golang or TypeScript instead of Python, if you want to use Claude instead of OpenAI or whatever, all of that is perfectly fine. We're not telling you exactly how to do this. We're just telling you ways that you can, and it's up to you to come up with the best trajectory for yourself. So once again, you'll be graded on outcome. I'm getting way ahead of myself. There we go. Yeah, you got it. All right, let's go to the prerequisites. It's not too crazy, but you're going to need to know AWS, GitHub, GenAI, Python containers, Terraform to an extent. Obviously, GenAI, you don't need to know that much of. We are here to help you learn a lot of that. But it will help if you kind of understand. I mean, you need to know what OpenAI is and Claude and things like that. You need to kind of understand how the ecosystem works at a very high level, or you're going to be lost really quickly. That being said, we're going to do everything we can to make sure that doesn't happen. AWS, GitHub, Python containers, Terraform, all of that's going to show up to some extent. You do not need to be an expert at it, but you do need to understand how to set up an AWS account and not, get your account hacked. You need to know how to hide your environment files so that your OpenAI key doesn't get stolen from GitHub. You need to make sure that, as far as Python goes, I would recommend at least a functional knowledge. And I mean that specifically, you need to know how to write functions. We probably won't get too deep into classes and things like that. I don't think we're going to go too crazy, but you do need to understand Python and at least be able to read it, analyze it, and modify it for your own purposes. But of course, this is a Gen AI bootcamp, so you can use generative AI to help you with that Python if you need. And then finally, containers. We are going to be deploying containers. If you know Docker, that's going to be great. Kubernetes is even better. But if you decide to use Elastic Container Services instead of Elastic Kubernetes Service on AWS, perfectly fine. Either one is acceptable. And then finally, of course, Terraform. The whole course is going to be based around Terraform. That's what I'm known for. That's what I love, and that's what you're going to see everywhere. So I strongly recommend you do learn some Terraform. I've got a couple free 2-hour courses if you need them. All right. Keep your repositories private while you're experimenting. Please do not keep this stuff public. There's just too much of a risk, especially if you do not do this every day, of accidentally uploading a key or something like that. It's just
there are a lot of keys of OpenAI keys on GitHub.
What do you search for? I think it's SK dash something like that. I think the first prefix of the OpenAI key is pretty easy to find. I mean, don't do that. Nobody do that. In fact, I think Grok will report you to the authorities, if I remember correctly. It has been accused of being the biggest snitch of the LLM community.
And it nailed Theo's snitch bench. It's amazing.
Oh yeah. There's somebody on X called Theo. I can't remember his full handle, but I strongly recommend you follow him. He does not know me, by the way, but he does have some really good insights into Gen AI, and he tries to stay on it. Another thing, set your billing alarms in AWS, especially if you go the EKS route. This stuff does get very expensive very fast if you're not careful. If you go the ECS route with Fargate, you're probably going to be okay. But again, billing alarms, just set them. TF-vars, keep them clean within Terraform. I know TF-vars were originally meant to define all of your variables. That is not the way we do things anymore. Variables are now defined as environment variables or in secrets manager or somewhere else. Do not commit your secrets to code, period. All right. And finally, if you do use my interactive grader, which I hope you do, I really want to hear your feedback. That's awesome. Just know, and it will give you the command that it runs just to be safe, but it does analyze the files in your directory. Whether the Terraform, if it's a Docker lab, it will analyze your Docker files. It does not go outside of your system. It does not go outside of the directory you're in. But again, don't go and like drop a bunch of passwords in comments or something like that. It will be sent to OpenAI and it will be sent to me. So, yep. All right, cool. Some tips for success. GenAI is not perfect. I think, if anybody, George can attest to that. This is the word deterministic is a big, big, big word here. George, you have any fun stories where GenAI was not very deterministic?
I can share some numbers. So like the state-of-the-art Terraform code generation, like the best quality Terraform you can generate, the success rate, like the plan success rate is never exceeded 75%, even when using Claude. So whenever you generate Terraform code, it's like 75% of the time it will plan successfully. But even if it plans successfully and you try to apply it, then like you hit all the kinds of shenanigans, Terraform and the APIs. So by no means it's no way perfect. That's why like people rarely used LLMs in infrastructure the past couple of years until agents, because agents can iterate. So they can do something, figure out something that went wrong and then try again or like fix that. So that's why it was rarely possible to use LLMs on DevOps like the past couple of years.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And we're going to cover all of this, of course. And also, as far as GenAI not making good Terraform, we're recording this video out of order, and I've already recorded some Terraform videos, and you get to hear me try to censor myself while Terraform it just goes off the rails. It's terrible. So, but again, very useful if you play it right. Solve small problems. GenAI is based on context windows and prompting and all of this. And let me close this real quick. And I touch on this in other videos too. Where did you go? As you increase the size of your prompt, things start to get rough. So if you have certain LLMs with very large context windows, which basically means they hold a lot of information, that doesn't mean they are equally as good at that information across the spectrum. You've got this study here, actually, which is based on GPT 3.5. It has gotten better since then, but basically at the beginning of your prompt is when it is most focused, or, its attention is best. It starts to get confused as it's analyzing everything, to and from, all the way down until it kind of flatlines through the middle. But they did find that at the end of your prompt, it has a recency bias. So it says like, oh, actually, yeah, there's that thing that we should do at the very end. So I thought that was super interesting there. Basically the end.
We've seen the same thing with Stackpack. So one of the things you do when you're building LLM tools, even for like internal infrastructure or custom toolings with LLMs, a lot of the effort you would do is like what exactly you should provide in the context and what you should omit, because the context window is limited and their attention is limited. So like humans, like right. we have cognitive load, it's real, but LLMs have cognitive load as well in their context. People call that context engineering. So if you hear this term now, that's what it means. Just how to choose the right thing to keep it the context at a given task. And to give an example, like when we were building infrastructure agents and we were arranging the state, we had something we call the scratch pad. And this is basically like a notepad where the agent, as it's working, it keeps adding notes. And we usually, we tried including this scratch pad in many locations. So we tried putting it at the very beginning of the prompt, at the very end, and in the middle. And the best thing that happened is when you put it at the very beginning, because it keeps it on track. So if it has a checklist on this scratch pad and it's at the beginning, it would stay on track even for longer sessions where you have a 120 message long session and so on. So what we usually ended up doing is that the optimal mix is having the scratch pad with the whole high level overview and the checklist at the beginning, and at the very end, the last couple of actions it took. And these are the two most important pieces of information, and it exactly follows this curve. So this is really real when
awesome.
you're building these things. Yeah.
Yeah. So I actually experienced the same thing with the grader and in the very early stages. And I mean, this grader literally is like 10 lines of prompt. And then of course I then have to add all of your code to the prompt. And I remember it was just horrible. It was missing like everything. And I'm like, what is going on? And I ended up taking 2 of those lines, moved them to different parts of the prompt, fixed it. Just like it was nothing, just like that. So this kind of stuff does matter a lot. Now, luckily, a lot of the tools out there remove a lot of this type of thinking for you. But again, there is a good reason for... Whoops, it looks like it killed my presentation. Let's go back to the slideshow, shall we? There we go. Good reason to solve smaller problems where you can. You want to iterate. Commenting your code can help as well. And then finally, what I really wanted to focus on is breaking into smaller files. So if you do end up with a lot of code, and honestly, we're not dealing with a lot of code in this course or bootcamp. Terraform just really isn't that many lines. Now, once you start getting to hundreds of thousands of lines, you're going to start really pushing those windows. If you get to even 1,000 or 2,000 lines in one file, it starts to fall apart. I've been building a SvelteKit app, and it started getting to about 1,000 to 2,000 lines, of just because whenever you use Tailwind CSS, it just starts to get super confused. Like you just get so many lines of code, and it just started making mistakes left and right. It has problems following types. It has problems, following the flow, the logical flows. And I found that if you focus more on modular setups and get those files as small as possible, get that context down, you're going to have a lot more success for each feature. Now, of course, if you need to refactor the whole code base, that's a different story. But when you're working on individual features, the smaller the file, the better, at least as far as I've found. I think we're almost done with what we need to. No, yep. AI, trust but verify. I can't say it enough. It's going to get things wrong. And you're going to see it in all of our live coding sessions. It is just going to screw up. And I've seen it do some wild stuff. It tried to, I remember I was trying to change my schema, my database, and due to a quirk in Prisma, it wanted to drop the whole table. And I said, don't do that, please. And it said, okay, sure, I won't do that. And so first of all, what it did, it tried to just hard code fake data and then pass it off as correct. And then after that, after I told it was not allowed to do that, it did everything in its power to try to drop that database.
Yes, you're absolutely right. And then drop the database.
Yep. So we will be covering how to add rules and when to turn your IDE into chat mode, when agentic mode may not be very smart. There's, of course, all these IDEs have turbo modes and things like that. Does StackPack have some of those controls in place?
Yes, we built a couple of things, and the main thing here, like the main takeaway is these guardrails have to be deterministic because the thing is not deterministic. I mean, like we humans, like we screw up also, but like the thing with agents is they can screw up much faster, more frequently, because they think more frequently. Like they come up with commands to run and changes to make much faster than we do. And because like the failure rate is higher than a human, but they can try more, and that's why agents are cool. They can get the task done quickly. But like if you're going to do that, like it's going to be hard to review everything without like some deterministic guardrails in place. We've been working on something on like along that line. Like, but the issue is you have to make these guardrails deterministic.
Yep. So let's see here. How many? So like, let's just say a word. I know that token's way more complicated than just a word. But like how many words are in a token? How many tokens are in a word? What kind of size are you usually looking at? I think I saw 100 tokens is like 75 words. Did I see that right?
So it depends. Like different models have different tokenization algorithms. Tokenization is just like bags of words. So instead of using a character, it's a way of encoding characters into bags. So THE, it's very popular. So it's usually a token. instead of like having a single character. So this is a more efficient way to learn, but it's definitely not human friendly. It's very hard to map tokens to words. So definitely and different models have different tokenization algorithms and they keep changing. But you can't map a token into a character. So usually if you measure stuff in terms of characters or words, you would have less tokens because very popular words are like squished together into a single token.
Yep. So the reason I asked is I just did a quick Google search because I don't have my LLMs open. Did a quick Google search and Mistral 7B can achieve 2,000 tokens a second.
Wow.
So, the fastest type, well, not the fastest typist, but the fastest like kind of normal office typist that you might run into are about 100, 120 words per minute at best. And we're talking 2,000 tokens a second. So
amazing. I mean, and if you're using also like something like Grok, the hardware, like inference hardware provider, you can even clock more than that. Like it's super, super fast inference provider. Yeah.
And that's Grok with a Q, correct?
Yes, Grok with a Q. Yeah.
Yep,
GROQ.
Yeah. Yeah. I've heard great things about Grok 4. Obviously, Grok just went through a little bit of drama as well. Calling itself after certain genocidal dictators. That was fun. But yeah, so LLMs aren't great. Again, trust but verify. And finally, we're going to be here to help both of us. I'm here as much as possible. George is on a different time zone, but he'll be here whenever he can. We've got the Discord, which we've shared with everyone. Make sure you log into that Discord, hop in, join in the conversation. Every little bit helps. We'll all learn from each other. Love it. Speaking of that, I'm going to run through this real quick. Just don't be a bad person. Don't bother people no unsolicited or tagging direct messages. Keep it to the channels. Before asking a question, we're going to ask you, like, what have you tried? That's extremely important. Like, what have you done so far? And if you can't say, like, if you just said, oh, it just didn't work, not going to cut it. We need to know error messages. We need to know what's going on there. All that good stuff. And then again, people from all around the world, your culture might be different from theirs. Please just chill. If you have to wonder if it's going to be cool to say, just don't say it. Take it to Twitter or wherever you want. Just be chill. It's really the big one. Now in the Discord channel, we might provide a warning if it's cool enough, but if you're in there spamming, if you're in there bugging people, if you're in there causing a problem, or you're dropping slurs, we're all adults. Please, come on, guys. Let's chill. We will kick, ban, or whatever without warning. All right, cool. Finally, we're going to be building, I use this for the last one too. And so for those of you who've been in my boot camps before, we're going to be building this bridge as we cross it. So in the past 3 days, let's see what's happened. Windsurf has been kind of acquired in 3 different ways. We'll see. OpenAI fell through. Google acqui-hired kind of the entire C-suite, and then the rest of Windsurf got acqui-hired by Devin, the company Cognition. Yeah, who runs Devin, which of course was a major scam in the beginning, but then earned enough money to kind of be putting out a real project. A lot happens in this industry, and
the AI space is super entertaining at the moment.
Oh man, it's so much fun. So that kind of means 2 things. One, we're going to try not to swear by any tool. We're going to tell you what's best at that very moment, but we're going to try not to use its like edge capabilities and say you have to use this tool because of this. We're going to try to keep it as generalistic as possible. We're going to try to be like, here's how to use this in any tool. Anything we teach you will be able to be used in StackPack, Cursor, Windsurf, Kiro, which Amazon just released Kiro. That was the second one. So another major, I call them Vibe DEs instead of IDEs. Another major Vibe DE player has just been released, which could end up, it's not yet, but could end up being better than what's out there. So just realize, you may see something in one of our calls and the next call may be completely different, but we will try to acknowledge that when it happens. So I'm going to just swing through that stuff. All right, cool. Oh, thank goodness. We are through that boring part. So what I'm going to do real quick is kind of walk you through what we are doing. So In the site here, in the course that you do have access to, all of this is going to get replaced. Let's go. We got videos, we got tutorials, but then we also have these labs. So basically, in these labs, these are what we're going to be kind of teaching you, kind of assisting you through. We may not teach you the whole thing. We might teach you a variant of this. But essentially what's going to happen is you're going to have some instructions, you'll have some tasks, and then you will have the ability to install my MTC CLI grader, which I will walk through using the grader in other videos, and George also has. We're not going to delve on that right now. And then basically you're going to submit your work. Each one of these tokens here is associated with your username and let me move this so I'm not staring off to the side. This token is associated with your user and this lab. So this is a highly unique token. And whenever you submit, it will grade these. You'll need to refresh the screen to see it, but it will grade these and tell you if you got a good score. Now, I do have another platform that I have been working on. Unfortunately, just to be honest, it's just not quite there. You're going to see it in our other videos. If you want access, I am offering very beta access to it. It's the same content, but it's a really cool layout. But, you know, I wanted to make sure that if it decides to break, we're still good and we still have a backup plan here. So this is where you're going to access all of the content. Now, after that, here is the repository you're going to be starting with, the compliance dash. This is a compliance dashboard. I also call it audit command. I call it lots of things. You'll notice we have multiple branches. We've got a main, we've got an ECS solution, we've got an EKS solution. There might be a container solution in here. We're going to try to have as many of the solution variants as we can, but like I said, this is a very fluid project. I'll be honest, we might break some of these branches. So it's going to be up to you to use tools to make sure that things are right. We are not going to guarantee that this is a perfect deployment, because just like real life, nothing is perfect. There will be problems, there'll be gaps in documentation.
It's messy and realistic.
Yeah, exactly. And you could say that I'm just lazy, but I'm telling you that I'm helping you.
It's by design.
Yes, it's everything. Every bit, every byte is by design. Yep. So yeah. So here is the compliance dashboard here. This is actually based on a project I've been working on. I've been working on a contract with a certain really cool company that deals with space technology. And they are getting a NIST compliance certification. Don't worry, it's not incredibly important that you know what this is, but do look it up. It's important. It's really cool. But basically what we've done is hopped into AWS config, which of course is signed out. All right, so here's basically what we are monitoring. This is AWS config. If you haven't heard of it, it kind of monitors different resources and their status. And right now I've set just a few rules. You can set whatever rules you want, but like S3 buckets need to not have ACLs, for instance. S3 version lifecycle policies need to be set a certain way, whatever. Set whichever ones you want. This is totally up to you. But what the application does, and again, this application is not fully finished. If you want to add really cool features to it, by all means, 100% open source. I'd love you to tag me if you do something really cool with it. But otherwise, do whatever you want with it. This can be yours. Build a really cool project out of it, or I don't know, build a company out of it. Just, shoot me some money. But basically, it takes those controls and highlights all of the resources that are non-compliant. And then also, we have added an OpenAI key to the backend, which is something you're going to need to do very securely, and we cover that. It will generate the remediation scripts. So this is basically what you would do to remediate this. Now, of course, if this was in a module, this won't be correct. So it's not perfect, but it gives you a pretty cool idea. So this is what we're starting with. Now, what we want to do by the time we're done with this boot camp, you're going to be able to automatically remediate all of these yourself using your own agent on your local machine. Now, we may, again, piddle with this a little bit. We might adjust these requirements as we go and as we play with it. But George, if you could throw in a little bit of highlight into how we might solve this problem, how we might remediate these from our terminal.
So this is a very cool project. I really like it, Derek, because shows how what the new tools and the Vibe DEs make us capable to do within operations. I think you just invented an amazing new buzzword. But yeah, so you can build custom toolings. You don't have to write a lot of code to adapt Backstage or build your internal developer platform anymore. You can build these custom tools in a couple of hours, test them, and just they're good enough for you to use internally. And this is amazing. So I think one of the cool idea is to take these recommendations and then give it to an agent that can discover your infrastructure, look through your code to see where to apply this remediation step. So if you're using Terraform, it will take the recommendation, search through your GitHub code with an MCP tool, for example, which is a standard to use different APIs from within an LLM application, and then find where this change could be and create a PR, for example. So the suggestions here can be applied, but to be applied in your own environment, you would need something intelligent enough to iterate, to know how to apply this fix in your environment.
Yep. Yeah. So the idea, of course, is this could be something that could be done locally. Now, you could also do it as in a GitHub Actions workflow or whatever, but I kind of feel like something like this needs to be a little bit closer to the metal, as they say. This is something that you can run dynamically and supervise because it is, security is very, very, very important. However, that being said, we still want to add some automations to our GitHub pipelines. And to be perfectly honest, the idea originally was to generate PRs or something like that. But GitHub just rolled that out. Like we said, this is a very fluid boot camp. GitHub is actually trialing that right now. So the idea of us building that is probably a little sillier than I'd like. So
but in reality, rarely people have everything in their infrastructure codified on GitHub. You usually have stuff that on the cloud, at the console, and stuff on GitHub. And that's why it's messy. You need something flexible enough to be able to apply this patch, whether you're using Terraform, CloudFormation, or AWS CLI, for example. So even if GitHub builds that, you would still to build some internal glue in your own organization with your own flow.
Yeah, so basically what I'm saying is we'll think of whatever that next project is. We actually don't exactly know what it's going to be yet. I think as we talk, I've got a couple ideas that I think will be really cool. Obviously we can do a review bot, which there are people who are going to be releasing review bots left and right, but being able to control your own rules around these reviews is going to be a little more granular than most of these larger companies is going to be able to offer you. So maybe a review bot in GitHub Actions. I've also thought, and some people are actually flirting with it now, but I have definitely thought about doing a drift remediation bot, which I think could be really cool. Maybe you run Terraform plan, and then it analyzes that plan. If it sees drift, it opens a new PR or a new push to remediate that drift potentially. Thinking about a lot of things. So if you have anything you'd love to see, just let us know, because I think there's a lot we can do. The main thing though is that we're going to teach you how to implement AI into your workflow. And to be honest, from there you should be able to build just about anything you want. So yeah, I'm starting to run out of things we need to cover. Did I miss something, George? Do you remember?
No, I think it was perfect. We just need to encourage people you should ask a lot of questions on Discord.
Yes, please do. Yeah, ask all the questions. That will help us immensely to understand where you are. Do not be afraid. If you're falling behind, we're going to try to help you get where you need to go. This is not, we say it's a boot camp, but this is, this is not the military here. This is not, the stakes aren't that high. It's not that crazy. We are more than happy to help where we can. But again, just provide the evidence that you have been trying. Help us help you. And we're more than happy to do that. All right, cool. All right, everybody. Honestly, I think that's about all we've got for you on this video. We have a lot more to come. We're going to be doing a lot of videos that aren't live, that aren't together. We're kind of unspokenly competing against each other to see who can generate some Terraform code the fastest, that you all can be the judge. We'd love to hear your comments on our different styles. And they are very different. But as far as the first thing to do, head right over to the course, the bootcamp, continue, and you'll see your videos and everything up here in the labs. Go ahead and get those started. So the way we're going to do this is this first week, you're going to finish getting everything into ECS or EKS. Now, two things to mention on this. One, if you do not finish, it's perfectly fine. We do have a finished repository with all the code in ECS, all of that. You're going to be fine. You can just use that if you want to stay on the same beat as everyone else. Now, if you want to do it yourself, you've got until August 15th for grading. So you've got plenty of time to get your project finished and all of that. No problem at all. As far as all of the resources in here, the videos will be available and for you forever, at least as long as the site exists. The labs might be disabled at some point. Just keep that in mind. The graded portion, I can't pay for, the grader forever, especially for you free users out there. But again, you've got the content, you've got access to us. Feel free to reach out anytime. And George, you have any closing thoughts other than what you've already said?
Yeah, it's super exciting. Yeah, it's going to be really interesting building this together. So yeah, please reach out on Discord.
All right. Awesome. Well, we covered a lot of ground on this. I think we're hitting about 45 minutes. So thank you, everybody. And I can't wait to see what you build.